I was 16 when I first considered transitioning. Being the nerd that I was, I made up a pro-con chart. But the idea of transitioning in high school was just so perplexing. What could I do to get these people who'd known me since elementary to see me as another gender? Makeup? Jewelry? Skirts? Demure femininity? If that's what it took, it just wasn't worth it. I was having none of that. Later, I expanded my idea of what it meant to transition. But when I finally did, I had also changed my mind about what would be worth it. If it meant being called she more often at work, then I was happy to fem up each morning. Although I did keep a secret wardrobe to butch it up on the weekend. See, I love being a butch woman. I used to be afraid that it meant I would pass less, but the opposite turned out to be true. My elbow-length hair was more often seen as a characteristic of my being Native American or living in a town with so many hippies, as opposed to because of the fact that I identify as a woman. Let me tell you, when I finally cut it to my ear, grew out my chin hairs, donned a tank top, and headed down to San Francisco Pride, I passed flawlessly. Nobody expects the butch dyke next to them to be a trans woman. That's when I realized that I'm happier not following all the rules, and I like being the kind of person who will break all the expectations for what a trans woman is supposed to be like. Despite my own body dysphoria, I found a group of trans women and allies who would get together and do sexy photo shoots, share some semi-nude or nude photos. I had a blast. Now, like many others, I wasn't all that comfortable showing off my bits, but that didn't matter. The positive feedback about my body was overwhelming. And I realized that is what I need more of in my life. I want community like that. And that's why I was so excited to go to Camp Trans, an annual gathering of 100 or two radical trans folk, all gathering specifically to fight for the rights of trans women. The only problem was, even though it's based on a sliding scale cost, the trip across the country can be kind of expensive. I was only working part-time as a tutor and being supported by my partner. That's why when a lover of mine told me that she made $500 in an hour-and-a-half photo shoot with a porn company, it was hard to resist. That would cover all the costs of the trip to Camp Trans. And it would take me almost a month to make that much at my job at LCC. When I decided to do it, the first thing I thought was, I do not want them to know that I'm multiracial. I gathered all the white passing privilege I could, because the last thing I needed was for them to put a feather in my hair and try to do a tranny squaw set. I'd be exploited enough as it was. I prepared myself as best as I could. I knew it wouldn't be like the photo shoots I had done with my friends, but I wasn't ready for how difficult it would be to be sexy the way they wanted. It was so different from how I'd be sexy with my lovers. I mean, turning around and spreading my butt cheeks. I don't get what's sexy about that. And they put me in spiked high heels. Heels, sure, but I've never worn spiked high heels in my life. Wobbling and hardly managed to stay upright. The worst part about it, though, was how they wanted my body to act in ways that just wasn't possible for me. I mean, I've been on hormones for years. I'm not going to just get and stay rock hard without a good reason. And when the photographer set down his camera, leaned in and said, "So, are you going to come soon?" Talk about pressure. I managed to fake it, apparently quite convincingly. I suppose it helped that I explained to him that I wasn't going to squirt. He said that the website would be disappointed, but he understood. It was hard holding myself together. I managed to make it just to the car when I was out of anyone else's sight. And then I was shaking. So it took a week of solid processing to work through that trauma and be able to feel like being sexual again. But you know, as far as trauma goes, that wasn't so bad. The hard part was seeing the people who were supposed to be my allies talk shit about people like me. To all those people who bought into the idea that there's the true transsexuals and then there's the she-males. And my participation in sex work placed me in the latter category. It goes right along with people who want to create civil rights protections that only apply depending on your surgical status. You know, it seems like everything comes back to what's between my legs. And frankly, I wish everyone would just butt out. There's this assumption that I'm supposed to hate that part of my body because it represents maleness. But who says that she has to be a symbol of maleness? I remember when I first read the words of another gender rebel, Lauren Winter Steele. She wrote, "I grew up reading Pat Califia and Tristan Taormina and Carol Quinn, reading all about dykes packing dicks, dykes drooling over dicks, dykes fucking with dicks, all depicted in steamy detail on the pages of On Our Backs, Best Lesbian Erotica, and How to Fuck in High Heels." So it never seemed all that incongruous to me that I, like every other queer girl I knew, happened to have one. And you know what? That's how I feel about it these days. I've just got a high-tech strap-on. No straps required. And that's a great place to be. It feels really good being at home in my own body. And I owe it at least in part to being forced to face the issue when doing porn. That's why it's so hard to be in feminist spaces that see sex work as inherently vile. I mean, there's a lot of degrading and exploitative jobs out there. What makes sex work so special? You know, despite everything else, in the sex industry, I had my gender respected and valued in ways that no other job compares. No one ever got my pronouns wrong. I can't even say the same thing about most queer organizations that I volunteer with. It wasn't the funnest thing I ever did, but it wasn't a sob story either. I later went back to do another shoot, and it wasn't nearly as bad the second time around. In fact, now I think I want to make my own porn. Now, I mean, tranny porn is about as representative of trans women's sexuality as girl-on-girl porn is representative of lesbian sexuality. And following in the footsteps of my sex-positive cis-dyke sisters, when I want something done right, I'm going to do it myself. And I'll use my experience to create a feminist, oppression-aware alternative. Now, somewhere along the line, I heard feminists aren't supposed to make porn. I heard that all trans stories are supposed to be tragedies. And I heard that the best way to survive is to keep your head down. But like I said, I like breaking all the rules.